I'm Kristen Andre, founder and chief strategist of Andre Consulting Group. I founded my company almost 10 years ago because I love helping people not only succeed, but thrive in their careers and their lives. So many times I meet amazing people who have so much more potential than what they're utilizing. As I engage with them, there seems to be a common theme: the limits they place on themselves. Throughout this podcast series, we're going to visit some incredible people who have created more intentional lives for themselves, those who've had that no limits moment where they chose to grow and they put things in motion to help them do so. We will focus on how you can break through limits. We will equip you with strategies to help you lead a more intentional life, and we will have a lot of fun along the way. So let's dive in. Hello, everyone, and welcome to No Limits with Kristen Andre. I am here today with Heather Breedlove, who is a corporate exec and entrepreneur. So thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, it's exciting. Well, I'm really excited because a lot of times when we have people on the show, a lot of our guests have been entrepreneurs, which you are, but you're still in the corporate world as well.
I am. I'm actually a CFO for Keyston Bros. It's the second oldest California corporation, and we've been in business 150 years, and I still very much enjoy my corporate job. Yeah.
See, and I love that because I don't hear, you hate to say that, but a lot of people that are in corporate aren't loving it.
No, because it's very straight, right? You've got to fit in that box, and you've got to be what they expect you to be. But me personally, I spend a lot of time thinking about who am I in my job? Who am I in my personal life? And how can I make all of that blend to be one person? Right. And I can be who I am in every aspect of my life.
And I would assume that's what made you enjoy what you're doing.
It did. And I will say, though, being a CFO, I am very, very numbers oriented. But I love creativity as well. And this company happens to be in a design space, so it's really, I can do both.
You get to merge them both.
And I don't have to sit at the desk. I can go play and have both sides of that.
Well, that's cool. Yeah, because most CFOs, my friends that I have in that realm, it's totally stereotyping you. It's the numbers. You've got your abacus on the desk. No, I'm just playing. But it's usually the boring. I mean, and my background's in finance, so I get it. It's usually the boring numbers part of the game.
But when that comes so naturally, right? Why not capitalize on that? And you can use it as a tool for everything.
And that's what I think's interesting about your opportunity is you realize that I need more than just the numbers. I need those extra pieces, the creativity component. Yeah.
Absolutely, because you can go in, day out, do the same thing at your office, and then you just kind of like what we were talking about earlier, you end up on autopilot.
You do, and it's so many people, you mentioned earlier, like the blending the two, the work life and the home life, and I see so many people that it's just separate people. It's almost like they're two personas. They have their work person and their home person, or their work life and their home life. And I don't know how those things can be mutually exclusive and not merge them. But I think so many people are stuck there that they've got two separate lives they're leading. They
are. I mean, and especially women in business. I mean, there is still that I've got to be a mom here. I've got to be a wife here. I've got to be this executive that blends into still to some degree a man's world. And it is, but if you can get that center and get that piece that this is who I am, right, and I'm comfortable being that person in all of those aspects, I think that's easier. A win. Yeah.
So I completely agreed. So how long did it take you to get there, to get comfortable?
I'm going to rewind a little bit. Okay. I will say I grew up small town America.
Okay.
White picket fences were the norm.
Got it.
And
you were the Norman Rockwell painting.
We were. We were. And my husband makes fun of that because it was so different than, the first time I took him down there, the cattle in the front yard, he was like, what do you even do with this? But
we've had your husband on the show, and he's hysterical.
He is.
Did he try? I could see him trying to ride, jump on the cattle. And
now he knows who to call when the cow gets in the road.
Okay.
But so it was an amazing way to grow up. But I I was out of there at 18, the first opportunity I
Yeah.
had. My parents were incredibly supportive. I went to the University of Georgia, which was a big step.
Yes.
I mean, I'm going
Go
to tell
Dogs.
myself, go Dogs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have tuition.
Alabama comes to mind.
I know.
all
I
of a
have
sudden.
tuition going to Georgia currently. Oh, excuse me. My daughter and tuition going to Georgia currently.
Going to
So
Georgia.
I got to cheer for the Dogs.
I was so excited. That was a huge step for me. But like my parents left me at the dorm, and I had to learn how to drive because
Yes.
my small town didn't have any red lights.
Oh,
And-
goodness. That's small of a town.
And pump gas because my next door neighbor owned a gas station. You know, you'd pull in and he would.
Full serve back then. Yeah.
It was.
Yeah.
So that was a huge
Yeah.
opportunity.
Yeah.
So I did that. Met Tommy pretty soon after.
Okay.
And then just kind of went through school, and you have your checklist where you go to school, then you graduate, you find your perfect job, you want to be married by 25, kids by 32, and I did all that. I checked all those boxes, and lo and behold, a couple of things happened.
Yeah.
We didn't have kids, wasn't really an option, so we had to navigate through that. And then my father passed away, like the year we got married, totally unexpected.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah, so those two things,
those are big curveballs
they are
on that checklist. Yeah.
Absolutely. So how do you navigate that? And you're not really prepared for it. I mean,
Yeah.
you kind of have to learn how to go through that.
Yep.
So I did have my job and I did have my marriage, so I put everything into that, and then you just wake up one day and I'm like, I'm on autopilot. I'm going to work.
Yeah.
I'm drinking my coffee, go home, you're dealing with the commute, and then you just keep repeating.
Yep.
And life gets harder and harder. And then all of a sudden I was like, well, who am I? What do I want? And I really had to start reevaluating. You know, here I am knocking on 40. And this was a couple of years ago. What do I want? And I was so lost that how do you find that little glimpse to say, okay, this is who I am. This is my starting point, and build from there to even get to No Limits.
And I think that's such a huge thing because the autopilot word keeps sticking out to me because we do have those checklists. Like whether we're conscious of it or not, we do the, go to college, graduate, get a job, get an apartment, get married, have 2.2 children.
It's like your roadmap.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's anytime there is either a deviation that we choose or a curveball, a death of someone, close or anything like that, it kind of throws you off, but you're still like, it's still my checklist. I'm still supposed to be knocking things off. So it does almost become autopilot. And I've had this conversation with a number of my clients and friends. It's, you get to the point where you're like, everybody says this, you'll get to work, you're like, I don't even remember driving here. It's so much on autopilot that I feel like so many people in our world today are just existing and not living. And that's
it's
sad.
Fearful, right? How do you make that first change where it's hard to change, and especially when you're trying to keep everything afloat.
Well, if you're, not as much as in your 20s, but you're 30, 40, 50 years old, there are some pretty firm habits that have sunk in by that point.
Oh, absolutely.
It's hard to break.
And then you just keep getting, you'll have problems at work. Marriage is not always roses. So you've got to kind of go back to that.
Yeah.
And that's.
So how did you step out of that? Because right now, and we'll get to what you're doing now, but you've blended the two great, but what was your first step to get out of the autopilot?
I'm gonna call out my husband, Tommy, again. He decided to walk away from his corporate job, and I was 38 years old.
Yep.
He made I had a great salary. He had a better salary. And
I remember having him on the show. She's not joking. He walked away. This was a big job.
I'm a planner.
Yeah.
And we had a game
There
plan.
goes your numbers. This is where the CFO and you is going, wait a minute, this is not working
we
financially.
Had a plan. The plan was October. He was going to make a shift. Yeah. And he's got an amazing story. You've heard it. But I was driving on my autopilot, driving to work. It was Valentine's Day, not October. He calls me on the way to work. He goes, today's the day.
Oh, Valentine's. Tommy Breedlove. Now, listen here.
on Georgia 400. I'm like, I'm going to wreck this car.
This is not a normal Valentine's present.
No.
Okay.
No. But what do you say? I mean, I was like, well, if today's, I take a deep breath.
Yeah.
That's my,
Yeah.
and I'm like, well, if today's the day.
Yeah.
Do it. But that upsets a lot, right?
Well, the list is, I mean, the checklist, you got to throw away the checklist at that point.
I mean, it's always been very important to me in our relationship that we don't tell each other no. If we have a hope or a dream, we're very supportive in that.
Which is awesome, yeah.
But, I mean, that was a hard one to swallow. I'm like, okay, I'm 38 years old, and we're about to start over financially.
Yeah.
And I know people do it. I mean, at least we had the choice to do it. A lot of
Right.
people are presented
Right.
with death of spouses, divorce.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's a little tougher.
Yeah.
So
it is tough. I mean, at any age, I think it's tough. But
Right.
this was by choice.
it was by choice.
Yeah.
So we shifted. And with that, it upset me enough where I had to start saying, okay, he is making changes. Who am I?
Right.
I mean, and it kind of, in that relationship, I'm not going to say keeping up with each other, but you grow. Like,
Right.
he'll grow, and I'm like, well, I need to
Right.
grow.
Well, it
And
sounds like he had found what he wanted or what
he had found what he
kinda weird-
didn't want
in the corporate world.
in
Okay.
the corporate.
Okay.
And he's very people-oriented.
Yeah.
And in an accounting firm, it's just not. I mean,
It's not
people are your,
personality, yeah.
they're like your product.
Yeah.
So you don't necessarily treat them like people.
Yeah.
So it was, that was our shift. And at that point, I started really looking at me. And I think what had happened is after I found out we weren't having children and my father had died, I had just kind of closed up.
Sure. Yeah.
And it took me a while to get comfortable with opening up and saying, what would I do if I had 3 spare hours?
In the day. Yeah.
What would you even do?
Well, it's, a lot of times I don't know that we always slow down enough. Part of us being on autopilot is we don't often take enough time to really sit and be and figure out what is it that I want this to look like.
And it's scary, right? If
Yeah.
you sit down with your thoughts,
Yep.
you might have to admit something to yourself.
Yeah.
Like, I don't like this.
Yeah.
And then you take it a step further. And how many people are afraid to say, I want this out of my life?
Right.
Because they're scared they can't have it.
And I'm finding that to be so, like with me, I was in corporate, I left corporate, launched my own company, and I'm very much the person like, yep, don't like the way this is looking, we're going to shift. And, not on a dime. There's definitely thought and preparation that goes into it. But I find so many people that, and I don't know if it's the fear that's holding them back or that they don't know what they want or a combination of the two.
Or you're comfortable.
Yeah.
But if you're comfortable, then you're limiting. I know one of my main compasses is if something scares me.
Yep.
I make myself do it.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to necessarily, I know the minute I let fear win,
Yep.
I've limited the rest of my life because it would be easier the second time.
And that's really big, because that quote is it's used a lot that, growth doesn't happen in the comfort zone, but fear is a big thing too. It's usually, if something scares you so much, it's probably what you should embrace. Now, I'm not talking about walking down a dark alley, but if it's something career-wise or personal-wise, it's like that good fear, it's probably what you need to embrace.
And fear is really close to excitement, if the way you feel it. So I
hadn't thought about that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Notice next time.
Okay. I hadn't really given that much thought. So it is true. All right. Well, we're going to pause for a minute. When we come back, I want to talk a little bit more about what you're doing now and how everyone can take from what you guys are creating to kind of help find some goodness and some joy in their own lives. We'll be back in just a few. Hey everyone, it's Kristen. Be sure and visit my website at www.andregroup.com. That's www.andree-group.com. And while you're there, be sure to download my white paper, Top 10 Reasons Your Business Isn't Growing Fast Enough. Now get out there and create your no limits moment. Welcome back, everyone, to No Limits with Kristen Andre. We are here with Heather Breedlove, corporate exec and entrepreneur. And before the break, we were talking about how you and your husband, Tommy, have kind of really, despite the fact you're still in corporate, have really shifted and created what you're looking for, a life that's fulfilling both professionally, personally.
And one that you can have your dreams and go get them and still, have some intention around that life.
Yeah.
And when he did his shift and we were talking about it, I had to kind of look in and figure out who I was. And I didn't realize I was still struggling with, the kid thing is big.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Even with my father's passing away, I was still dealing with that. And I had closed that part of myself up and just pretended like it wasn't there.
Yeah.
And we have our lake cabin, which has been amazing. And I realized one day that we always have toys and whatnot for kids out there. And one of them was blowing some bubbles. And, you kind of long for children at that point. And I was like, but why do I want kids so badly? And then I realized it wasn't necessarily that I wanted children. It would be nice, but I love their carefreeness. I love the no fear.
The play. Yeah.
The play. And all of that through a 3-year-old blowing bubbles on a dog. And what I did was I was like, okay, as I sat there and I had those bubbles, I started opening that part of myself back up and the why and really getting comfortable with this is my life and I could still have opportunities from here. And so the picture of the bubbles was the first one we put in the Shine Your Bright journal.
Okay.
And that was kind of the story. It's like, how can I take ordinary, everyday things and spend time with them and use that to start to get to know who I am, like a reintroduction to yourself.
Right. Because I think so many times, you hear the saying life by design, not by default. And we're living, so much of the population is living by default. And they're not picking what they want or designing life the way
But what's that first step?
Exactly.
And for me, a lot of people have been able to use this as that first step. A comfortable private place that you could stick in your purse, you could do in a carpool line, just answer a question about yourself. And if it's been years since you've thought about who you are, that one question could sit with you for a week before you figure it out.
We don't take time, and we're not taught to do that. We're not taught to really sit there and figure out who, when you're little, what do you want to be when you grow up? It's usually doctor, fireman, president. I wanted to be a truck driver. That didn't work out. I'm not a great driver. But
there's still time.
I don't know. I don't know. You've obviously not seen me try to parallel park. But, we don't take any time as adults to do that. So, all right, so you've got this, and for those of you guys that are listening and not watching the live stream, there's a journal, Shine Your Bright, which is awesome as I'm looking through, and it's got some prompts that get you thinking.
Yeah.
So what made you guys come up with, the bubbles, you said that kind of was the impetus to it, but
that was the bubbles were absolutely the lead. I always have a creative project going on.
I do. The accountant, the CFO with the creativity.
Yes, and I love entertaining, and I love making people feel special.
Okay.
And with that, this was just an opportunity for me to put some creative thought and actually design a product instead of just doing a cake or a party or so I shifted it into Shine Your Bright for a minute.
So tell us about the journal. So what do you want people to do with the journal? Get out of the journal. It's really cool.
Yeah. So it's a great tool, and we use the tagline, a reintroduction to yourself. So it can be that first step to say, who am I? What do I want? And just a guide to kind of spend some time with getting yourself ready to dream. This will just say, this is who I am. Okay. And once you start to open that up, then you could say, well, this is what I really want. And admit it to yourself. I know one of my girlfriends and I, through the years, she's been in my life forever. We always said, once I admit something to you, that means it's real. So best friend in life, we wouldn't tell each other everything, because once you say it, you've got to deal with it.
You got to do it. Yeah.
And so once we had that conversation, that's when I was like, well, you know what? We need to be honest with ourselves.
Yeah.
And say, I don't like this. I do like this. And
but that's the first step to changing and creating things the way we want it to be.
Mm-hmm.
To designing life. So.
Right.
Yeah. So what do you guys focus on now? What's next for you guys?
I think we're very open about our stories and who we are and where we've come from, and our ups and downs, our hills and challenges. And really, we're enjoying people and helping people maybe be their guide to, this is what we've experienced. We'd love to be an ear. We're all here on this life together, and let's just be who we are and be good with it.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And now you have a company, Choose Goodness.
We do have Choose Goodness. That was the company that we started day one when Tommy jumped out of the airplane. Yeah, we'll say
without a parachute.
And what we've done now is that really helps a lot of nonprofits. We do some donating out of that, out of Choose Goodness. He himself is actually working with executive men on kind of taking off their mask at work, and same thing. Yeah, it's the same. It's the same message. Figuring out who you are.
So whether you're a nonprofit, a male executive, a female. The reason I was drawn to the Choose Goodness, I know it's got the charitable and the giving component, is there's so much goodness out there, but I don't know that people are seeking it or know how to find it. And that's what's intriguing to me, is the work you guys are doing to kind of help people uncover that for themselves.
And we do. I mean, a lot of it is you can get so caught up in your everyday life that how many times do you go check out at a grocery store and not have a conversation with the cashier? Right.
But and now that you say that, that's interesting, because we were talking about my kids earlier, and my youngest, who does not know a stranger, she always has a conversation with people at the grocery store. And, as parents, we're like, try to get her to hush, but I usually don't. There's no stopping her. But
we did that as kids, though. Yeah. And, I mean, think of somebody could be having a bad day, and you just saying, hey, hi, or acknowledging that you see them, really can shift their day.
Yeah, and I think kids do that naturally.
Absolutely.
I try to be conscious of that at restaurants, and that's my barometer. Just for anybody that goes out to eat with me will know this. My barometer for people is how they treat the waiters. Like,
Absolutely.
If I can be in the middle of a conversation, if somebody comes to refill my glass, I pause to say thank you, or, have a great day, or thank you so much. Just acknowledging people's presence.
Right.
And I totally judge people if they are rude to wait staff and everything.
I judge people is on all of these highways around town when you've waited in line.
And they speed up.
And they just bypass 200 cars and cut in. That's where I judge people.
I would judge them too.
What about that?
You got their license plate too. You can judge them and write them down. But no, it's true, because it's the kindness and the goodness is gone, and it's but that's part of to me, that's the kind of the routine. It's just the autopilot. It's get home quick, get their fixed dinner, do this. And if we stop back to, have a conversation with somebody at the grocery store, or at the restaurant,
or even
great
have
things
consideration
can happen.
For, you never know what someone's going through. And no one's got a perfect life. Nobody's having, a perfect day is so few and far between.
It really is. And it's kindness and goodness and all that. I ordered one of those. You know how those Facebook ads pop up all the time with the choose the choose kindness.
Yes,
that one that Julia Roberts had it on. It looks way better on her than it does on me. But
she looks good
She looked good on that. I'm telling you. But it had the Choose Kindness shirt, and I'm like, this is a fantastic shirt. And once Facebook suggests it to me 4 or 5 times, I'm terrible. It's awful. But it's such a simple message, and I think whether it's goodness or kindness, we have to pause the autopilot enough to do that for ourselves and for others.
And what a shame we need a reminder.
Isn't it sad?
And it's
really
everywhere now. You see coffee cups with those motivations, wall hangings.
They're all over my house. The little all the ones, the sayings and the quote is pretty much, if they've made it, I've got it in the house somewhere. My house is a walking quote factory, I think.
Well, yeah.
Which is
even
which
at my
is fine.
office, everyone's got these quotes, and I'm like, I'd like to think that we're a happy work environment,
Right.
and it's but what's going on
Behind
with
the
you
scenes,
guys
yeah.
that I'm seeing these quotes everywhere because I want you to be thriving in life and
Yeah.
be happy in your career and your job. And
So what's the main key to have people thriving? Like with everything, the work you've done and both corporate and entrepreneurially, what's the key?
I think owning the bad stuff.
Okay.
And getting comfortable with it because it's not bad. It makes us who we are.
Yeah.
And I think
And we try to sweep it under the rug a lot.
Yeah,
It's
because-
the social media life, the Facebook life, where
Right.
everything's perfect.
because it hurts or it's embarrassing.
Yeah.
But we're really all going through it.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's true. It's true. So what is your hope for the world as a whole? Well, we'll give you the responsibility of the whole world. No,
the
what I mean, just
whole
but I won't make you do the whole world. But the people, if in your community, what's your hope for those in your group? Like, what do you really want to see happen for them?
I want to see them smile.
Don't you love that? Yeah.
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 And to feel special enough to smile. Yeah.
I think that's awesome. I think that's very cool. All right, so we're going to take another break, and then when we come back, we're going to come up with a challenge related to everything we've talked about. So we'll be back in just a few. Hey everyone, check out my podcast, No Limits with Keyston Andre, on Tuesday nights at 7:30. We will tackle the things holding you back and the limits you set on yourself and equip you with some strategies to lead more intentional lives. Podcast launches every Tuesday at 7:30 p.m. on facebook.com/Andre Group. That's facebook.com/ANDREE Group. We'll see you there. Welcome back, everyone, to No Limits with Keyston Andre. We are wrapping up our time with Heather Breedlove. So thank you so much for being here. It's making me think a little bit.
Well, good.
Yeah, I know. I like that.
That's the plan, right?
And I feel like I do a lot of journaling. I feel like I'm self-aware. But I was really intrigued when I said, "What do you hope?" And you said you like to make people smile. Mm-hmm. So it's not a gift. Everybody should be able to do it, but nobody does it.
And not just smile, but glow.
The feel.
Right?
Yeah, you want to have all the feels.
That's why we like this logo. We want to see that coming out of people, or I do.
Yeah. So how can people do that?
Ooh, so I would say go outside of your ordinary. Say, I want to do something. Do an experience. One of my things, and I'll take a challenge myself.
Okay.
I want to do a helicopter tour over the city of Atlanta at sunset.
Helicopter ride is on my bucket list.
Well, let's go
Sign
do it.
up. I'm all right.
We'll do it.
We'll
But
go, okay.
that's my commitment, and I want to do that. And I want to take the time to do that. But it's not easy to find someone, sign up, and go do the experience. But do something that you could say, I did this for myself, and it made me smile.
So, all right. So not just making other people smile, making yourself smile.
Yeah. Or take a friend.
I think that's kind of cool because a lot of times we go through that part of that autopilot is we aren't doing anything for us. And I had, one of the therapists I work with, not that there's multitudes, but
you can outgrow your therapist.
Over the years I've worked with several. So the therapist I'm working with now is fantastic. And he told me, he's like, "What do you do for fun?" I was like, I do this and I do that. And I named like 3 hobbies. He's like, "So what are your hobbies?" I'm like, those are my hobbies. He's like, "Nope, those are your kids' activities that you're tagging along to." Mm-hmm. But it took me a while to realize I never sat down to figure out what I enjoy doing.
Right.
I mean, my oldest is 20. So 20 years, it's kind of been about that, which is as it should be. But I also didn't add the and. It's not an either or, it's an and. I didn't take the and to what's going to make me smile just for me.
Right.
Kind of that. But I think people feel guilty when they try to do something just for them. You think that's the case, or is that just me?
No.
Am I feeling the mom guilt here?
You might be.
Yeah.
You might be.
But I like that. All right. So do something just for you to make you smile. Mm-hmm. So how can we make others smile too?
Ooh,
You said you like to entertain.
I love to entertain, and I found, and Tommy loves to entertain too. We found that if we entertain, they will come. So people like to take the time to enjoy that. So yeah, you could
do something for other. Yeah, because it's stopping. I do a girls' night twice a year for my group of friends, and it's an extended group. I mean, we probably have 30 people crammed into my little living room. But we do it twice a year, and it's literally, there's no agenda. We just bring, food and wine and just the conversations and the laughing and just stopping for a little while. We do it in the summer right after school gets out.
Oh, wow.
And we do it right before, usually right in January after the holidays where we've all been running crazy. Those were the times that we felt like, we just need to stop for a minute.
But you do that, and you look forward to it.
Yeah,
so that's for you.
Fun.
That's not for your kids.
No, it's not for the kids, but it's also for my group of girlfriends too, because you do run so much frequently, and I know we need to all get off this wheel we're on that's constantly moving, and I think that might be a step, is to start finding something fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
I like that. All right, so we issue a challenge every episode to our listeners. So I think you hit the nail on the head. They've got to find. But what do you think? They do something fun for themselves?
You could do both.
Oh, I like that. Let's do both. Okay. So one item fun for you.
And one for someone else.
Heather's going to be up in a helicopter. So when you guys see a helicopter flying around Atlanta at sunset, that's her.
I'm
Wave up.
Do it. That's one thing I've just wanted to do. And that you put it off, and then you don't do it.
Yeah. It's, it's bucket list items that, I've had mine forever. And, a lot of them I've done. I've definitely done. I did one a few weeks ago that almost killed me. Well, no, I did. I think I've talked about this one of the episodes. I always wanted to do one of those adventure races, like the Spartan race or the Savage race. Those of you guys, that are watching the live stream can tell I'm obviously a very high level athlete. I'm really not.
Drinking water.
I'm drinking water. There we go. But I'd had that on my bucket list, and my closest girlfriend was like, "Hey, let's go do this." Now she's very fit. CrossFit person, does great. And I was like, oh yeah, sure, totally fine. I'll be there. I couldn't move, couldn't get out the couch for 3 days. So that bucket list item did not put as much of a smile on my face. It did while I was doing it. It felt a huge sense of accomplishment.
That's awesome.
And so it is checked off my list. And one of my friends like, oh my gosh, you probably had so much fun. You'll do it every year. I'm like, no, think I'm good. Think I'm good. So I think you've got a good one here with do something for yourself, but something that makes you smile.
Right.
It's just fun and get that playback.
Yeah,
maybe it's blowing bubbles. I don't know.
That's
get the
awesome.
playback and do something fun for you. So, Heather, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you.
We will put a link to this journal because this is super cool on here, and I want you guys to do that. But in the meantime, until next week, keep pushing past those limits, find some fun, and make people smile. Starting with you. Take care.